brand awareness matters. The same reason Coca-Cola puts a commercial in the Super Bowl. It's like you can't track the Super Bowl people to buying a Coke, but you know that if you're reaching millions of people, those millions of people are going to become familiar with your brand and trust it when it comes time to make a decision to drink a soft drink. They're going to pick Coke. In this sense, if you're putting content, like Aero Senior Living's been doing it longer than anybody. They put a lot of content out. Their content isn't super salesy. So when they're putting it out there, they're reaching millions of people every month. When mom falls and you're like, I need assistance, or I'm struggling to take care of mom, or my spouse just passed away, I need to find a place. Well, I've been watching those videos for years.
Yeah.
Every week, I'm going to go here. How do you track that? I mean, you can ask the question, how'd you hear about us? A lot of times they'll say, I remember Aero Senior Living. I'll go Google them.
Welcome to The Move In, a senior living marketing podcast from Unlock Health, a full-service marketing partner for the aging services industry. Join us for candid conversations exploring the latest marketing strategies with the senior living community leaders and innovative solution partners who are moving our industry forward. Together, we'll build a community to build better communities. Short-form video is everywhere, but are we truly using it to tell the most meaningful stories in senior living? Hello, I'm Larry Williams, and welcome to the Move In Senior Living Marketing, powered by Unlock Health. In this episode, I sit down with Nathan Jones, founder and CEO of Dash Media, whose work is redefining how we market senior living, one authentic story at a time. From heartfelt resident videos to emotionally connecting content strategies, Nathan and his team are helping communities shift the narrative around senior living and connect with audiences in ways that actually matter. In this episode, we discuss how authentic, unscripted stories from residents and staff help reshape public perception and build emotional connection, how Dash Media is able to capture and scale high-quality stories consistently with a focus on heart and flexibility, and why short-form video is the most effective tool for engaging audiences from prospective residents to job seekers, and how to use it with intention. If you're wondering how to cut through the noise on social media, build trust, and move the needle on both occupancy and recruitment, this episode is a must-listen. All right, we are back on the move in senior living marketing, and we have another special guest, Nathan Jones with Dash Media. Nathan is the founder and CEO, and after going to different events and seeing each other over the last 2 years, I'd call you a friend, and it's always good to connect with you and catch up on all things life. But I'll tell you this, and you don't know this about me, is that your presentation was the first senior living presentation I saw, and it was at Argenum in 2023, and it opened my eyes to really what we can do in senior living marketing. And just because that I've always had this soft spot for the services you provide, but I see the strength of it. So thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time because you've had a busy schedule here lately, even showing up on television, which you posted about this week. So thanks again for joining us, Nathan. And as we start this, I'd love for you to just kind of tell your story and what you're doing.
Yeah, so that happened this week, and it kind of ties into the start of Dash Media, I guess you would say. So, in a nutshell, what we do is we tell the stories of your people, so your residents, your caregivers, your team, your organization, really. And about 3 years ago, I had started Dash for that whole reason. Is we saw this huge need to tell the stories through short form video content or really any kind of video content. And so our very first client was AG Roads here in Atlanta. They signed the first day that I said, I want to, chase this dream of starting Dash Media. They signed, we started working with them. And then about 2-3 weeks ago, we did a video of one of their residents turning 100 years old in March, like March 26th. And their board member saw it. It was also an affiliate and works with 11 Alive News here in Atlanta. And so she had reached out, we talked, and next thing you know, I got a 5-minute spot on live television. Never had that before. So, it was good. It was like going back to my football days where you get a little pregame jitters and nerves a little bit before the big game. But it was fun once it started. It's just telling the story of
Yeah,
why this industry is so great. It comes down to the people and the stories, and we wouldn't be in it if we didn't believe in the industry and in you know the narrative that's out there about senior living isn't always positive. About nursing homes isn't always
sure.
positive, and so anything like that, any opportunity we can go out and work to change that narrative is one that I've always wanted to jump on.
Yeah, and like I said before, you represented all of us well, and you did not seem nervous. I was really impressed with that. I think I would have shown my nerves through that interview, and we'll make sure we post that clip in the show notes so everyone can see that. Something you mentioned in that interview, which I want to make sure we highlight, is with your organization's name is Dash Media. How did you come up with that name? Because I think that's really impactful. Of it really tells the story of the services you provide and how you approach all videos.
Yeah, no, it kind of goes back to 2016. I had graduated college, stopped coaching football, and I was living with my parents after college. I was just kind of a lost 22-year-old kid, 23-year-old kid, whatever I was at the time. And I went to church with my parents, and our pastor here in Atlanta, Georgia, Passion City Church. He gave this sermon on living your dash and what the dash mean. He shows these gravestones, and on every single gravestone, there's only one thing that's in common with every single one. And they all have a different date and a different date you were born and a different day you pass away. And you really can't control those two dates. The only thing you can control is the thing that's on every single gravestone. That's that little dash in
Mhm.
between those years and how you live that dash. And so that had stuck with me so hard. At the time when I heard that, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, had no idea what senior living was. But about a year later, I got invited to a community, just fell in love with these senior stories, was kind of mad at myself for how I thought about senior living, and I thought it was the smelly old nursing home that's
Sure.
you often see. And at that point on, I was like, I don't know what it's going to happen, but someday I want to use that dash that meant so much to me in the name of something. And so when I started Dash, or when I saw the need for storytelling, and I had created an Instagram account that's gotten several, it's over 300 million views in the
Wow.
last years. But I wanted to do that for senior living operators. I wanted to tell their stories better, and it seemed like they needed help. There's a
Yeah.
lot of great minds and marketers, but they needed help capturing content that was high quality and consistent to put out to the world. And so we started Dash. If you look in the center of our logo, the way I created the logo, I'm not a graphic designer, but I was like, well, what's the best story in the history of the world? I don't think I've said this before, but I said, what's the best story in the history of the world? The best love story. And I was like,
Yeah.
what represents that? It's a cross.
Yeah.
So I literally typed a D. I think it's like Arial font. I did the black Arial font. And so then I just put a cross in the middle of the D. And I was like, boom, that's the cheapest logo I ever had to do.
It's really incredible, really powerful, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. So then, the last 3.5 years, we've just kind of grown to serve the industry.
Well, you're serving it and you're really changing the narrative. We spoke with Jack York a few weeks ago, and stories resonate. Stories have power, and I think we recorded the session with Jack, and on my way back from a family spring break trip from Charleston, I actually listened to that podcast. And my wife doesn't work in senior living marketing; she has nothing to do with senior living, but she was like, I really enjoyed this. And like, it's the stories. The stories are impactful. Stories are memorable. And I always say that the thing that we need to focus on when it comes to senior living marketing and what needs to be your North Star are these stories. And senior living has the best stories, from the resident stories to the staff and team, how they got into senior living, and even the geography of what's, in the area. There's stories to unpack there. And I appreciate you taking people's lives and their journeys and being not only sharing that story, but one thing that you do so well, or you and your team do so well, is making it impactful to marketing efforts. One thing that you mentioned, I remember going back to that presentation at Argenum 2 years ago. You highlighted like this is your typical Valentine Day social media post. It was like Happy Valentine's Day. You're like, this is a better version of this. And it was couples who are telling their story of how they came together and they're living in a community, or how those, the others found love while at a community. And man, like people were getting emotional during that session. And it really, again, opened my eyes to really how powerful stories are in this space. And like you said before, it's really changing the broader narrative of senior living. You mentioned this in that interview on with that NBC affiliate, that you had this mindset of what senior living was, and you felt bad about that. And I think we all have that, which is the old school nursing homes, and it's not like that anymore. And we think about handing out, Valentine cards or singing Christmas carols at the nursing homes, and it's changed so much since those days. And your work's really changing, helping to change that narrative. So I appreciate you, make sure like you highlight that. And as we talk about those stories, I've always wanted to ask this question to you. How do you choose which residents to feature in these stories? Because everyone has great stories of how they got to this point in their life, or, what they've done. But how do you find these residents and share those stories?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, how you find the residents, how we find the residents
Mhm.
is leaning on the community staff.
Okay.
We've done hundreds of shoots in senior living communities at this point. Yeah, dash, maybe not, maybe close to around 100, and told thousands of stories. I think that the biggest thing we've learned is how to execute on filming day. It's a very
Mhm.
unique day. And if particularly like if you're filming a memory care, sometimes assisted living, like some residents that you had scheduled to interview wake up and don't want to be interviewed that day. So
Sure.
like we take a lot of pride into knowing how senior living communities run and how like their things happen. I
Sure.
think a lot of video production people want it like very specific down to the minute. And we plan, but we also plan in that flexibility. And I say all that to say, to get back to your question of how you pick the stories, we have a filming schedule template that I would say is one of our secret sauces to executing at a high level to capture a bunch of quality, good stories. To fill that out, we do lean on the community staff. They, the marketing directors, the life enrichment directors, they know the residents. They know which ones have the funny jokes, have like that are lively, that will tell their story. Now we also will interview people that aren't that way. And I think that's where we've spent a lot of time training up every single videographer that films with us. It's super easy to find talent when it comes to video, like from a technical camera
Sure.
standpoint, but it's really hard to find heart. So we hire for, we search for the talent from a technical side, but
Mhm.
we interview for the heart. And once you find the people with heart, any videographer that's going to interview or show up to film with Dash has a heart for this work and
I
has
bet.
a curiosity for the stories. And I think the resident feels that when they sit down with us. And so someone who may come in with their walls up, when we're asking about their life and their wisdom and their love stories and their occupation and their accomplishments, they warm up. And so then the testimonials flow naturally at the end, where I think a lot of times we miss the mark on just going, oh, why did you move in? You
Yeah.
like living here. And then you tell them what to say. It's like,
Yeah.
that's not how we operate. We never tell anybody what to say. We let them tell us how they feel. And it seems to be producing the most authentic kind of stories out there.
Yeah, and the authenticity is what really resonates, and people can feel that. And I'm sure you have to kind of, like you said, you want to get the right videographers with the right heart and the right approach, because you have to make sure there's that, give 'em a chance of vulnerability if in connecting at an emotional level to get groups to open up. And it's funny you were talking about the almost expect the unexpected as you go through these video shoots. And I thought back to your coaching days, and, I'm sure the learning how to call audible is something that probably plays in that process as well. But do you have any advice for those who are shooting videos of really how to create that stage for someone to have that willingness to open up? Is it really a setting? Is it more of that mindset? Do you have any advice on that front?
To you go back to your coach analogy, it is exactly like that. You put a game plan together for an opponent,
Uh-huh.
70% goes to plan, but then they throw a wrinkle at you that you have to adjust at halftime and adjust mid-game on the fly. And so that's how we explain how shoots are going to go. You're going to have 70% of this schedule go exactly according to plan, but a resident may bail out or activity may get canceled, and then we can still tell the stories and find that. So that's a great analogy. On how to film, like the nitty gritty of how you sit down, it really depends on the objective. So when we're doing a social media shoot, we go more bare bones. We have really, really nice equipment, but we're not doing a ton of external lighting and boom mics all over the place. We're going bare bones, like with high quality equipment. Now, if we're doing a website production type video or a commercial, it is a step up and different type of execution. So you look at each shoot of like, what are the objectives? If the objective is we're going to get a bunch of content, then you have to have the equipment that you can be flexible to get a lot of content. If the objective is we want a high-end specific story that's going to be on TV, then you're not worried about quantity as much. You're worried about nailing the shot. Mm-hmm. And so I think that a lot of people have done the second shoot that I just described in senior living.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people have done it's okay if something's off a little bit, or they say the wrong word, or they, stutter a little bit. It's okay. We're getting a lot of content.
Sure.
And social media, the only thing that really matters on social media from a technical standpoint is lighting and sound. So we're going to nail that. Mm-hmm. And then from a storytelling standpoint is not scripted. So being authentic, not telling the person what to say and getting a lot of content out there. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, but it depends on the shoot.
Yeah. No, I thought that was really a great response. Like you said, it's, just in layman's terms on my side of things, like you said, if you're looking for that, like that commercial type presence, that overly produced and getting that set up, it seems like if you want to have that vulnerability that's shared and expressed, you almost scale it down so it seems a lot more intimate. Am I looking at that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, you can get the intimate. It's harder, but you can get the intimate with the big production. Okay. You just can't get as many.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I think the more reps you get to, the better you are at getting those answers. So the other thing is, this is a very unique. I've never shared this before. Our VP of Client Success, Shelby Rayner, she used to work as a sales associate in a senior living community. She has like hundreds of thousands of followers on social media doing videos with her grandmother. Super talented, loves seniors, has a heart for it. She films with us as well as does her VP of Client Success role. But she will tell you the story. She struggles sometimes when she was a sales associate. She would struggle getting those authentic stories out of people because they knew her. They were like, well, I already told you that. And why are you being weird on camera? Why are you asking me those questions on camera? So I do think there is something special about having a stranger come in with curiosity, that I can get something different when I sit down with someone I don't know than a sales director or marketing director at a community that sees the person every day. They're going to talk to them much different than they're going to talk to me, asking questions about their story.
That makes a lot of sense. I never thought about that perspective, but that's almost true in all facets of life too.
Think about I can see how that works. Interviewed your best friend, like your best friend, you're a super talented podcast host, but as soon as you interview your best friend, he's going to be like, Why are you asking me these kind of, why are you acting like that, Larry? And you're going to act different. It kind of throws you off a little bit.
It for sure. And I thought about my daughters, how like if I ask them different questions, like I told you that already. Like it's that day is fine. Now, if someone else said like, how was your day? Oh, it's good. Like we had a math class, test and, lunch was fun, but it is fine. Having a different perspective, it really changes things. And thinking about it on the podcast side, it is funny. Like speaking with someone like you, who I known for the last 2 years, compared to meeting somebody and having them on the podcast, that transition is actually almost easier just because, there's a different level of flow and curiosity that you have when you're meeting somebody for the first time. So that's really great advice. And I appreciate you sharing that. And since you're talking about the social media, what formats? I mean, we have Facebook, the whole Meta with Instagram, Facebook, you got TikTok, and then YouTube and YouTube Shorts. What do you have any recommendations on what's the best way to connect with an audience in social in senior living social media? And I know I'm asking you a very broad question because a lot of it depends on the audience, but I didn't know if you can unpack that a little bit because you have a lot more knowledge on that side than I do.
Yeah, well, let's take a step back. What's the most common thing we see senior living communities or organizations post on social media right now? What would you say the most common post that you see?
Gosh, I would say, man, it's all over the board because it's typically the stories of the residents, but
I
it's
see a
about
lot
the
of like
community of
the
themselves.
graphics.
Yes.
The graphics, the holidays are super popular.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of happy St. Patty's days.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of happy Easter coming up
Okay.
in their branding. You see a lot of pictures of like life enrichment. They'll take it on their phone.
Yeah.
That's a popular strategy. A lot of people try video out, and it's hard to, when you have the community staff do it, it's hard to create enough, or so you get kind of burnt out, or you have to really sift through a lot of just not great content.
Sure.
And you don't really have a consistency on there. And so then the next question would be, well, why are you posting this? Why are you posting the graphic? All right, like, why are you posting a happy St. Patrick's Day graphic from Atlanta Senior Living? Does anybody really want to see that when they're on Instagram looking at pictures of golden retrievers and babies and family and friends?
Yeah.
Do you think they're really like, oh, I'm so glad that Mr. Jones Senior Living just posted happy St. Patrick's Day with their logo? It's like, no, they're going to most likely either unfollow you or keep scrolling and not engage with it. And so I think the first question you ask is like, why are we posting? And the answer to that, in my opinion, should be to engage our target residents and our target employees. So people who love seniors or people who are seniors and want to hear their peers tell stories, or the adult child who wants to hear stories of their, like their mom and dad would tell.
Sure.
So then if that's the answer, so if we don't need to post graphic templated holidays, you're worried about the quality that your community staff can provide. I think that what it leans to and what it kind of pushes the main strategy you need to do for social media being telling short form stories of your people that can relate to your potential workers or your potential resident. And so then it's the next question is, okay, what does that look like? Right.
Yeah.
What do those stories look like? And this is where it's more subjective and it can be up for debate, or you can have your own personal strategy. We have 25 clients. They all have their own unique taste of what they want the content to look like and be like. We have one client over here. Don't tell any testimonials, only stories. We only want to tell love stories and career and advice. Only want to provide value to those people. And then we believe that they'll come find us when they want to work here or live here. We have others on the other end that say, we want to tell 1,000 different reasons why somebody would move in, or somebody would work here. So it is more testimonial driven, that story focused, if that makes sense. So
it does.
I I got married for 60 years and we decided to move in when my husband got sick. And now that we've moved in, we wish we would have 5 years ago. So it's different types of storytelling, but both, there's not a wrong strategy. It's both is just providing value to your target audience.
Yeah. And one thing you've said before, and I really appreciate, and I use it even to this day, is, social media is not something you just like, it's a checkbox. Okay, I did it, done. The question is, do you want to leverage it or not? And there are so many ways to leverage it. And a lot of that, it is challenging, because if you have multiple communities, how to manage that, and then how do you scale this? And so I kind of want to throw it back at you at this point, just because I know you're very hesitant to ever come across as a commercial, but this is your chance. I want to hear it because others need to hear it. So how does Dash Media scale the service? Because I really think that's really important for you to share, because again, there is that need in this space.
Well, it comes down to, our service is we're providing a video production team and sometimes social media management. Some people have great social media managers full time. They just need content.
Yeah.
And so how do we scale is we find more people with a heart and passion and talent to tell stories of seniors. And then when you work with us, you do see some back end systems that we've built that automate like things like their video review process. Like our clients are getting 200 videos a year.
Wow.
And so when I first started Dash, all those revisions. So if I submit a video to Larry and you're like, hey, you misspelled this subtitle, or hey, we don't like that 3 seconds halfway through the video, can you delete it? We used to do that all through email, and it was so hard. So we built this automated system through the My Dash Media Zyflow portal. And through that automated system, clients get an email every week, their videos show up, they watch the video, they pause it on the part they want changed, send it back, it automatically sends back to us, we fix it, and then post it for them the next week. So every week they're getting 2, 3, 4, 5 videos every single week. And then we're posting the 2, 3, 4, 5 videos from the previous week. So it's that you're really getting an entire production team on your marketing team by working with us.
Yeah.
And that's what we will always want to provide to our clients.
Yeah. And that's, again, just being in different, I'd say, conferences and hearing some of that chatter, that's off, away from what you're presenting about. That's some of the stuff I hear, which is we'd love to really invest more in social media. We just don't know how to scale it. So I think it's really important to highlight this, which is it is sustainable, and you can do this. Just with the right partnerships.
The other thing on that note, real quick, is
please.
A lot of communities do have I would say the most common strategy is we ask our marketing directors or our life enrichment directors out of the communities to film content and submit it in. About 5 to 10% of the content we have a special request portal. People can send in content to us and we edit it. So
that's great.
By working with us, you're guaranteed we have a very well thought out model of like how long our footage will last on our shoot days. But along the way, if you have a 100-year-old birthday party and we didn't film it, send us the videos and it becomes part of your weekly videos. Scaling standpoint and highlighting all your different communities, you got to have solutions both from the high-end production footage and getting that edited, but also that those clips that you do still want to share, you just need somebody to edit them a lot of times. And so that's what we like to provide folks.
Man, I appreciate you adding that, because that is really important, because you can't be there all the time. It's someone like you said, if someone's having a big birthday, you can't get out there that fast. And so having someone to capture that moment and have the professional editing, tools, that can make such an impact. I want to kind of transition this into that marketing / lead generation conversation, which is, can you see those efforts in the video and the social media really move the needle on lead generation and really growing occupancy? What's your feedback on that front? Because I'm sure it's hard to capture ROI sometimes when it comes to, video and social media, but what's your response there when people are struggling with, how to capture this on an ROI standpoint and lead gen standpoint?
Yeah, there's a couple of notes here. one, it depends on, are we working with you at a corporate level or a community level? It's really hard to show an impact and occupancy from a corporate level when you have 30 communities.
Sure.
You just have to believe that brand awareness matters. The same reason Coca-Cola puts a commercial in the Super Bowl. You know, it's like, you can't track the Super Bowl people to buying a Coke, but you know that if you're reaching millions of people, those millions of people are going to become familiar with your brand and trust it. When it comes time to make a decision to drink a soft drink, they're going to pick Coke. In this sense, if you're putting content, like Aero Senior Living's been doing it longer than anybody. They put a lot of content out. Their content isn't super salesy. So when they're putting it out there, you know, they're reaching millions of people every month. When mom falls and you're like, I need assistance, or I'm struggling to take care of mom, or my spouse just passed away, I need to find a place. Well, I've been watching those videos for years.
Yeah.
Every week, I'm going to go here. How do you track that? I mean, you can ask the question, how'd you hear about us? But it may just be, a lot of times they'll say, I remember Aero Senior Living. I'll go Google them.
Yeah.
Or you lose track of them a little bit on the organic side. So I will say this, though. We do work with a couple of just individual people at the individual community level. One is this big life plan community in San Antonio. At our 6th month of working with them at that shoot, there was a comment, man, we can't tell why our occupancy has grown 8% in the last 6 months, but they had reached 4.5 million people on YouTube alone.
Wow.
And so we can't take credit for that.
Sure.
If you get a bunch of views and people are coming to your community and the staff isn't good, or they're not getting good care, or the sales director isn't telling their story well, it's not going to impact occupancy, but we're a piece to that pie.
For sure.
We can help get your brand out there. We had another one in their goal in our first, they worked with us on an individual community level. And before 12 months was up, they were 100% occupied.
That's right.
So everyone has their own different, the last example I'll say is one company that only tells those stories, only resident stories. Their greatest impact is on recruitment, job recruitment. So a lot of people are seeing the stories and wanting to apply to work there.
Sure.
And so it doesn't, I don't really like to hone in on social strategies like, did your Instagram convert to move-ins?
Yeah.
It touches on so many, you're really digitizing your referral and your word of mouth through the stories on social.
I agree. It's really capturing that passive audience with a emotional connection.
Yep.
And like you just remember, you know, it's that brand familiarity and how they made you feel. And even on the staff side, the talent acquisition, and that's a whole we might get you back on at some point and talk about that side of it, because that's really impactful. You touched on it earlier, but man, we can't sleep on that either. Like, you're telling a story on that side. And so I'd love to get you back on maybe in a few months just to discuss that, because I think that's much needed. So I know we got to wrap up. I think I could talk to you another 30 minutes and ask you a ton of questions. I always learn something from you. But my last question is, what's the future when it comes to video production? My theory is that, you know, short form video is the future. I will see what my kids are watching, what they're posting, and how they connect. And I do feel like short form video and video itself is the future. But I'm throwing it back at you. What's the future of video production and social media when it comes to senior living marketing?
I think the immediate future is the short form video. I think it's that's the easiest and cheapest way to change the narrative of senior living.
Yeah.
Never before have we had an opportunity to put a video out there and it gets 1 million views telling our stories, but we can now. And it's okay if it doesn't happen immediately, or it happens 1 out of every 100 videos you post. You can still do it. You can still change the narrative. So in the immediate future, I do see short form video. However, I do think in the streaming world, there's a need for documentaries. Like, I'm not talking like salesy document. I'm talking about real life, real authentic stories, not being afraid of saying the bad, you know, that people talk about, not just making it this glossy. David Smith produced a great one recently, and he's been going to film festivals and things like that. So there's I think more of that is needed. I would love to see in the next 5 years, and maybe we're going to do it. I'm not sure. It's expensive if you want to do it right, but we may invest into creating a documentary for Netflix, or, really going after that market someday. I mean, there's this huge wave. We always talk about it from a resident standpoint, but from a content and consumption standpoint, there's this huge wave of seniors going to be living in America. And so us keeping up with the content is only going to do good things for the industry.
I agree. And I'd go even further. We'll only do good things for society as well.
Yes,
But
people
just,
just
I'm
getting
just
older.
Yes, and telling a story, and for us to hear those stories and learn from those stories and celebrate those stories. So again, Nathan, thank you for joining us. Thank you to you and your team for what all you do. Where can people find you if they're looking to learn more or connect with you?
Yeah. Well, before I go, I will say Larry's the man. I have, a thing that people ask me all the time, like, especially when I reach out, they're like, well, we already use Larry, for our digital marketing company. I think people don't realize, like, we're a team. Like, a lot of the digital market, or the companies that we work with, the digital marketing company likes us because the content is hard to get, and we only focus on content. And so if anybody out there needs digital marketing efforts, SEO, I learn stuff from his SEO Thursdays every week.
Yeah.
I mean, we need help with our website too. It's not the best. So,
Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it, buddy.
yeah, I appreciate it. And so to find me, I think LinkedIn is a great place. My email, Nathan@my-media.com. Shoot me an email.
Okay.
If you want to learn more information, or just have it's not, when I do our sales calls, it's not even really a pitch. This is what we do. You kind of look at me if you're hiring for these needs, or you have a social media manager that needs help with producing content. That's what we're here for. We don't, we're just trying to fill the needs of organizations that want to do a better job of sharing their stories consistently.
Yeah. And I appreciate that about you. It's just having those conversations and, like, hey, let's explore if this is a good fit or not. And let's just unpack. And a lot of times I've seen where you just give advice. You're like, regardless if it ends up being business for us, let's just talk about it. So I appreciate that about how you approach, conversations. But Nathan, thanks again for what are you doing and joining us today. And we'll catch you at the next event.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Larry.
Right, appreciate it. Thank you for the conversation, Nathan. We all appreciate your work and inspired by these stories. Here are a few notes I took during this conversation. First, lead with real stories, not stock content. Instead of generic holiday graphics or templated posts, prioritize capturing and sharing real stories from your residents and team. These authentic moments will resonate with your audience. Second, build flexibility into your content strategy. When filming in senior living communities, things rarely go exactly as planned. Create processes that account for changes, cancellations, and emotional nuance, especially when working with memory care or assisted living residents. And third, use short-form video to humanize your brand. Short-form video is one of the most effective ways to build emotional connections at scale. Whether for recruitment or resident lead generation, invest in consistent storytelling that showcases your community's heart and humanity. Keep up the great work, Dash Media, and until next time, let's go make some meaningful connections.
Thank you for listening to The Move in Healthcare Growth. Add your voice to the conversation. Email the show at themove@unlockhealthnow.com. Follow us on social media and stay up to date at unlockhealthnow.com. Also, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode.